श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः। अपगतमदमानैरन्तिमोपायनिष्ठैरधिगतपरमार्थैरर्थकामानपेक्षैः निखिलजनसुहृद्भिर्निर्जितक्रोधलोभैः वरवरमुनिभृत्यैरस्तु मे नित्ययोगः। So we continue from the earlier class. It is the commentary of the sixth sutra, which says, Shishyanai ninnade shishyanirikkumirippu nattarariyamayaade attayarivikkekkaha, which means since the ordinary people will not be able to understand how they should behave as a disciple. So how a disciple should actually conduct himself is a very important issue that needs to be made known to people at large. And who else other than the Lord himself to make us know how a disciple or shishya has to behave. So in order to teach the people at large how a disciple, a model disciple should behave himself, how he should conduct himself, the Lord himself incarnated as both the shishya and acharya, or the disciple as well as the preceptor. And here Swami Manavada Mamuni gives a very beautiful and important insight into this aspect when he says, Sadhyantara nivrityam phalasadhana shushrooshayam artiyam adaramam manasooyam udayanayirikkayumahira shishyarakshyanam lokattil ullar ariyamayale. So all the qualities have been enumerated in the previous class. Generally, they are very difficult to find in this world. Attai swadushthanattalai arivikkekkahavengai. So there is a beautiful story that once a person who was preaching in a public place, he was actually preaching about the Ekadashi Mahatmya, which is seen in several Puranas. And he was mentioning that on the day of Ekadashi, one should not consume brinjals because of so many different reasons. So it so happened that of course, on Ekadashi, no food should be consumed. That is the main It is called as Mukhya Paksha, or that is the first preference. In case that is not possible, then it is mentioned that the staple food that a person consumes, for example, in South India, we consume rice as the staple food, so rice is avoided. Whereas in North India, they have what is known as chapatis or wheat-based food. So they consider wheat as the staple food, so that is avoided. So some people consume only fruits, some people consume different forms of food, and staple food is avoided. Especially some vegetables like brinjal, etc., are to be avoided. That is what is mentioned in the Ekadashi Mahatmya, and he was waxing eloquent, to put it in a poetic language, that one should avoid the consuming of brinjal on Ekadashis. So this happened in the morning. Then after some time, one of the disciples happened to visit the house of the person who was giving the discourse. And then it so happened that they had prepared a very nice dish with brinjal. And the scholar was actually consuming it with great enjoyment. He was relishing it. Then the disciple asked, "Sir, can I ask you a question?" "What is the question?" "You may ask." About a few hours earlier, you had actually mentioned in the discourse that on Ekadashi day, one consume brinjal. But now I see that you are consuming brinjal with great relishment. Then the person who gave the discourse said, "See, Puranas are there for the purpose of being explained to others. And brinjal is there for the sake to be eaten. So what does this have to do with that?" So that's what he said. So brinjal is there to be eaten. Puranas are there to be taught to others. So that is all I see to it. What is wrong in doing that? And we see that many doctors, especially in India, I don't know in the US and other places, when a person who is having the habit of smoking, he actually goes to the doctor. The doctor says you have to avoid smoking because it will give you it will precipitate your illness. But after a few minutes, the doctor himself will go and smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes. So they don't accept the precept of practice what you preach or preach what you practice. So that should not be the case. So that is why the Supreme Lord, he actually Attai Swanushthanattare Arivikkekkahavengai. So unless a person practices what he preaches or preaches what he practices, then only it will be valuable. Otherwise, it's of no use. Upadeshattale arivikkumalavil swotkarshan thedi kullavandanin ittanayendre ninekyavam koodum. That is why when a person is preaching something, many people think that he is just preaching, he is not practicing what he is preaching. If that is the case, then that preaching or that upadesha or that instruction will have no value whatsoever with regard to the persons who are the listeners. Therefore, Anushthanattare arivikkumalavil namakku idu venum endru vishwasittu parigrahekki udalaayirukkum ide. There is a very beautiful saying in Sanskrit which says, Paropadesha samaye parashara swanusthana samaye munayopi napanditaha. When a person has to give some instruction to somebody, he thinks that he himself is equal to the sage Vyasa or sage Parashara, who was the father of Vyasa. But when it comes to practicing what he has preached, many a times even highly evolved souls are found wanting. That is what is said. So many a times my Acharya used to say, even the preachers mention about this also, but they themselves, once again, people like me, for example, you may take it. Even though we mention it, once again, we don't realize that we have to preach or practice what we preach. It's a very, very, very difficult situation. Because many a times we see doctors advising others not to get angry, but they themselves get angry at the drop of a hat. So here it is said that if a person just preaches and does not practice, people will not value him. They may have some respect for him, but real value comes only when a person preaches what he practices, or he practices what he preaches. So to do that, the Lord incarnated as the Supreme Lord, as a Shishya. And then we proceed to the next sutra. Before that, we read the Avatarika or the introduction. Ippadi Shishyanai Nindre Immantra Shikshai Panni Ivvadiyare Jnanam Pirakkumopu Pirakkavenuvo Jnanakkalahalyangira Sakala Shastrangalam ஞானசாதனமாயன்னோ இருப்பது இவத்தை அபியசித்து அவ்வழியாலே ஞானம் பிறந்தாலோ என்ன சாஸ்திரஜன்ய ஞானத்துக்கும் இம்மந்திரஜன்ய ஞானத்துக்கும் உண்டான விசேஷத்தை திருஷ்டாந்தமாக வருடிச் செய்கிறார் சகல சாஸ்திரங்களாலும் என்று தொடங்கி. Very wonderful explanation is given by Swami Manavana Mamuni. He says, many times in the Indian context, when a new work or new treatise is introduced to the people at large, the question is raised, do we really need this work? Or is the purpose that is being served by this work already taken care of by some other work that has been authored previously? In other sense, what is the uniqueness of the work which makes people want to read it? This has to be mentioned in the beginning. So in this context also the question is raised. To generate the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, to acquire knowledge of the Supreme Lord, we already have the Shastras, namely the Vedas and the subsidiary aspect, the Vedanta and the Upanishads. And so many, that is Vedanta itself is Upanishad. And so many other subsidiary texts like Itihasas, Puranas, and so many other texts, the Smriti works. Even it is said that Itihasa Puranabhyam Vedam Sopa Brahmaye. And it is also said that Veda Shastrat Param Nasti Nadaivam Keshavat Param, or Vedat Shastram Param Nasti Nadaivam Keshavat Param. There are so many innumerable texts. You have the Vedas, then the Vedanta or the Upanishad, then you have the Vedangas, then you have the Itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata, huge works. Then you have the Puranas, 18 Puranas, and then the Upapuranas, then the Smriti works, running into millions of shlokas. And then you have the other Shastras like Nyaya Shastra, Vaisheshik Shastra, which also indirectly talk about God. So, when there are already so many treatises, why one more mantra? So, already the purpose that is to be served by this mantra is taken care of by the Shastras. Why do you require a new method to acquire knowledge of the Supreme Lord? Is the main question. So this question is answered in a very beautiful manner by Pilladokacharya, who says, Sakalashastrangalalam viraktum jnanam swayamarjitam pole Tirumantratpal virakkum jnanam paitrikadhanam pole. It's a beautiful, beautiful analogy that is given by Swami Pilladokacharya, which says, Sakala Shastrangalanam Virakkum Jnanam Swayamarjitam Pole. There are two ways that a person can acquire money. One way is he earns it himself by putting in lot of efforts. So we see in the markets, especially in India, where the pulses, vegetables, etc. are brought from the villages and sold in the cities. We see many menial workers or laborers. They carry very, very heavy sacks on their back. Probably they work from morning till evening without any break or a very short break. So they actually have to put in so much of physical efforts to earn a small amount of money. And then we also have software engineers and engineers, doctors, others, so many people who put in lot of efforts to earn money. So in Sanskrit, there are two terms, which is known as Swayamarjitam and Pitrarjitam. They call it as Swayarjita also, but Swayamarjitam, Swayamarjitam or Swayamarjitam also. So, one way of acquiring money or wealth is to put in continuous efforts, mental and physical efforts to earn money. Another method of earning money, it's not earning actually, but you actually get the money, is you inherit the property from your forefathers, either from your parents or from your grandparents. Many times we see that grandparents don't will all their property to their direct children, but they do it for their grandchildren due to so many problems. So inherited money is known as Pitrarjita, or that was actually Arjita, earned by his father or grandfather or somebody belonging to the earlier generations. So if he has to get that money, what he has to do? He need not do anything. He has to just accept the money and spend it wisely and earn happiness. If he spends it in a very bad manner for bad things, then he will lose that also. That is why in a wonderful incident of Vedanta Deshika's life, we see that. So there is a very beautiful instance. It is mentioned in the context of Vedanta Deshika's life. So Vedanta Deshika was the best scholar among his contemporaries. Of course, we call him the best scholar, all-time great. We call him an all-time great with regard to all the communities, whether it is an Advaita community or Dvaita community or Vishishta Advaita community, that's a different thing. But as far as Sri Vaishnava philosophy is concerned, there is nobody to question him or challenge him, because he has written such a huge body of literature which is extremely profound and deep and scholarly and all the other good qualities you would associate with these things. So once he was invited through a messenger by the local king, who said that, please come to my palace, or my darbar as they would call it, my court, so that I can honor you. So at that time, Swami Vedanta Deshika wrote 5 verses, which is known as Vairagya Panchaka, extremely beautiful verses, which is, I will not narrate that, that's a big, it will take 2 or 3 hours to explain the profoundness and greatness. I will just mention what is relevant to this context. He said, Shoni Kona Dashamsha Palana Kala Durvara Garvanana ज्वालाजाल महेन्द्र चाटुरचना धन्यान् न मन्यामहे देवं सेवितुमेव निश्चिनुमहे योऽसौ दयालुः पुरा धानामुष्टिमुचे कुचेलमुनये दत्ते स्म वित्तेषु. So he says, we don't care for these so-called kings who are temporary custodians of a small piece of land. On the other hand, we would like to worship the Supreme Lord of the Lords, who accepted a small offering of puffed rice by Sudama or Kuchera, as he is known in some parts of India, and gave everything that he wanted to Kuchera. So it's a very beautiful verse that he has explained, that needs to be explained in detail. But ultimately he said, Nasti pitrarjitam kinchit, na maya kinchidarjitam, asti me hasti shairagre vastu paitamaham dhanam. He said, I have not earned even 1 paisa. Paisa is the unit of Indian currency. And did my father earn anything? He also has not earned anything until now. So I have not inherited any money or any property from my father. Neither have I earned any money from any quarters, any means. But I have a huge treasure which I have inherited from my grandfather and his earlier predecessors. And what is that? It is the Lord Varadaraja who resides in the Hastigiri, on the hill of Kanchipuram, known as Hastigiri. So that is known as Pitrarjita or Pitamaharjita Radha. So here he says, Sakala Shastrangalanam Piraktum Jnanam Swayamarjitam Pode. Of course, the use of all the Shastras, the purpose of all the Shastras is to acquire the knowledge of the Supreme Lord Narayana. But that knowledge that is acquired by means of the Shastras is like a person working in the markets, doing menial jobs, and actually sweating from morning to evening, huffing and puffing, and then acquiring some money. So, acquiring knowledge from the Shastras is like that. Whereas, Tirumantrattinal Pirakkum Jnanam Swayamarjita Paitrikadhanam Pode. So, the knowledge that is acquired by the chanting and the Siddhi of Tirumantra is like acquiring and accepting one's inherited property. So what should one do to enjoy the inherited property? All he has to do is he has to be born in that family, which is not in his hands, of course. But even if he is born in that family, he has to take some small steps to inherit the property and then enjoy it. What else he has to do? And then Swami Manavadamani quotes a very beautiful verse. He says, Shastrajnanam bahuklesham buddheshchalanakaranam upadeshadharim buddhva viramet sarvakarmasu. Shastrajnanam bahuklesham. To acquire the knowledge of the Shastras itself is a huge task, a very difficult task. And many a times, buddhehe chalanakaranam, many a times rather than helping the person attain profound and perfect knowledge, many a times it misleads the persons. Therefore, upadeshadharim buddhva viramet sarvakarma. So it is best to acquire the knowledge of Hari by means of upadesha of the Acharya. That is through Ashtakshara Mahamantra, Daya Mantra, etc. and then give up all things in life. This is very well depicted in an instance of Swami Parashara Bhattar, which is often quoted. So Swami Parashara Bhattar used to give regular discourses in Sri Rangam. And it is a very interesting and very enjoyable story, like the story I narrated earlier some time back. So when he used to give discourses, a person who was a great scholar, he had studied all the Shastras and he had profound knowledge in all the Shastras. He used to pass by, and whenever he used to pass by, it is the code of conduct rather, that when somebody elder is seen when we are passing by through some road or something like that. These are all possible probably in villages, etc. Of course, this is not possible in cities, so people may find it a little bit strange. Because even today in city, in what we call the Divya Deshas, we see when we are passing through the road, some Sri Vaishnava will be sitting. So we have to, it is our duty to prostrate before him, pay our respects and go. And many times still this is invoked in several places. So that great scholar, where he used to just come inside the house and inquire about the wellness of Swami Parashara Bhattar and say, prostrate and say namaskaram or something like that. And then Swami Parashara Bhattar would also respond in a very casual manner and said, "Oh, are you fine?" or something like that. And then he would continue his discourses. So, and this, similarly, after some time, a very, very ordinary person who used to look very ordinary rather. He was also having all the Thirumand and other things, all those things. He was also endowed with the Sri Vaishnava Lakshanas. But he was not he was not supposed to be very scholarly or anything like that. But a very devout person. So he used to come there and he used to come to the place to pay respects to Parashara Bhattar, and Swami Parashara Bhattar would stop the discourse. Then he would prostrate to him and then make him sit next to him and converse with him for a few minutes. And then once again he would prostrate to him, "Thank you very much for coming, we are blessed." He would say like that and then he would send him. So all the disciples had a question. When the great scholar who has studied all the Shastra, he is such an accomplished scholar, when he comes to the discourse, our Acharya named Swami Parashara Bhattar, he is a little bit indifferent towards him. Whereas when this person who resembles a beggar, means not some ordinary beggar, but there are some evolved beggars also whom we call Dasaya in Sanskrit. That means they are actually taken the Diksha of begging, which is prevalent in India. I don't know how to actually exactly mention that. So this person is like that beggar. And when he comes, our Acharya stops his discourse and he prostrates before him, makes him sit next to him, then inquire about his wellness for a few minutes, and then he will once again prostrate to him and send him. So what is this? Either he should treat both of them equally, or logically speaking, he should give more respect to the scholar rather than this person who has not read any Shastras. So this was the discussion among the students or disciples. And it seems that such a discussion was going on among the disciples, reached the ears of Swami Parashara Bhattar also. So next day, when it so happened that as usual, when the great scholar was passing by and he came to the discourse to pay respects to Parashara Bhattar, he said, "Oh Swami, yes, oh great scholar, welcome. Why don't you spend a few minutes with me here?" And then he actually offered him a seat, and then he just started a conversation. Then Swami Parashara Bhattara, unknowing, as if he was not knowing, he asked, Swami, you have studied so many Shastras. You are an outstanding authority with regard to all the texts of all the 6 darshanas and also several other Nastika darshanas, etc. I want to know, according to your opinion, which is the Paratattva, or which is the single established reality. Then the scholar said, oh, yeah, the question is very good, but according to Sankhya philosophy, it is like this. According to Vedanta philosophy, it is like this. There also, the Advaita philosophy states like this, Vishishtadvaita says like that, Dvaita states like this, then Shaiva have a different opinion. Then you have several other systems of philosophy which give their own explanations. So it's a huge ocean, and he gave a very good exposition of all the theories, probably for 1 or 1.5 hours. Then Swami Parashara Bhattara asked him, what is your verdict? Which do you think is the final among all these opinions? Then the scholar said, see, I am a scholar in all the systems of philosophy. As such, I don't have an individual or independent opinion. Because when you see this, this seems to be correct. When you see that, that seems to be correct. So how can we say this one thing is the exact, this Siddhanta, or this is the final verdict? I don't have any such opinions. So this is what I think about these things. Then Swami Parashara Bhattara paid him respect and said, very nice. Thank you. They have been really enlightened, and he sent him. And after some time, that devout person who resembled a qualified beggar, so because beggar should not be understood in any derogatory term, he came there, and once again he came there. Then Swami Parashara Bhattara prostrated before him. And then he asked him a question. Today I want to ask a small question. Which is the Paratattva, as you know? Please let us know. Then the person got little offended. He said, what is this? Why are you asking me this question? I have realized that Lord Narayana is a supreme being. And though I have not read all the Shastras, I know that the purport of all the Shastras is that Narayana is a supreme being. And I firmly believe in that. But since you know, why are you asking me that question? I thought you also firmly believed, and that is why I was paying so much of respect to you. Don't you know? Then Swami Parashara Bhattara, I also know a little, but I wanted to know from you what is your firm belief. No, I am firmly established in the belief that Lord Narayana is supreme. And since I think that you also believe in the same thing, I prostrate before you, and I respect you and also accept your respects. That is what he said. Then he said, okay, thank you very much. You may kindly proceed. Then to the Shishyas or disciples, he explained, see, in spite of reading all the Shastras, if you don't arrive at a conclusion that is convincing to yourself, then what is the use of reading all the Shastras? So ultimately, all the Shastras focus towards saying that it is the Supreme Lord Narayana who is the person who is mentioned or who is to be known by means of the Shastras. But Sakala Shastrangalalum Pirakkum Jnanam Swayamarjitam Pode. So how much ever you earn by yourself, it may not be enough to sustain you. Whereas if you already have inherited money, why don't you make use of that? So, Tirumantrattinal Pirakkum Jnanam Paitrikadhanam Pode. So, would a wise person opt to actually earn money himself, or just accept the inherited money and be happy with it? So ultimately, that doesn't mean that Shastras are to be derogated, because many a times what happens when people give discourses, they say, oh, these Shastras are all useless. No. It's not like that. It means that Shastras have their own utility, their own usage, their own greatness. But for a person who wishes to attain the Lord himself directly without putting in too much of efforts, this is the best method. So one should, because I have heard many people giving discourses saying, oh, these Shastras are all useless. It's not like that. Even Swami Manavala Mamani has never mentioned like that. So many a times what happens when we try to show the greatness of something, we may show the other thing that is comparable in a little bit poor light, but that doesn't mean that we should have disrespect towards that. This is very important. So it is Swayama Paitrikadhanam Pole Tattvajnana Janakangalana Shruti Smrityadi Sakala Shastrangalanum Chetanarakku Pirakkum Jnanam Swayamarjitadhanam Pole Atyayasadabhyamairikkum. So the knowledge that is given by means of the Shastras is to be attained by putting in huge amount of efforts. Acharyopadesham adiyahat tirumantrattal tirakkum jnanam paitrikadhanam pole anayasalabhyamairikkum engai. So this is acquired with great ease without putting too much of efforts. Ittal shastrangalirkattil tat sangramana tirumantrattukundana vaibhavam shollittaitu. Therefore, for a person who wants to acquire the knowledge of the Supreme Lord directly, it is easier for him to do so by means of the Tirumantram. This is the meaning of this mantra. Then the eighth sutra is Bhagavan Mantrangal Tan Anekangal. For this, a very beautiful introduction is given. Anal Shastrangal Orindadahirade Bhagavan Mantrantani Tonumanne Pinnayum Palavillayo Vengira Shankayade Mantrantarangalekattil Idarkundana Vaibhavatai Arulichaivara Tarullam Patti Bhagavan Mantrangaltan Anekangal Yengirar Adavadi Astam te gunarashivat gunaparivahatmanam janmanam sankhya. So very beautifully Swami Manavala Mamani explains this sutra, which says Bhagavan Mantrangal Tan Anekangal. There are several mantras that actually lead us to the Supreme Lord. And then he is going to tell Adadam Vyapakangalinnum Avyapakangalinnum Irandu Vargam Avyapakangalil Vyapakangal Mondrum Shreshtangal. So he says there are several mantras. For example, if you see the Upanishad, you have the Simhatapani mantra, which is what is known as the Mantrodhara Krama, or extracting the mantra. So when the Nrsimhatapani Upanishad is studied, after it is studied properly, it actually is the superset of the Nrsimha mantra. So when you actually pick out the particular letters of the mantra and arrange it in a particular order, you get the Nrsimha mantra. So like that, Bhagavan Mantrangal Tan, in Mahabharata several mantras are there, in Ramayana several mantras are there. In the Puranas, hundreds of mantras have been explained. Then you have a great work called Mantra Mahodadhi, Mantrarnava, etc. which Mantra Mahodadhi means ocean of mantras. Mantrarnava means once again ocean of mantras. This is a separate work, though synonym, as far as the names are synonymous with each other. They are two totally different mantras. Totally different treatises which list thousands of mantras. That is why they are called as ocean of mantras. So it is said, Bhagavan mantrangal tam anekangal avedam vyapakangalennum avyapakangalennum irendu vargam. In next sutra he says they are interrelated sutras, so I am narrating them together. So mantras are of two types. They can be categorized into two divisions. One is vyapaka mantras, and another is avyapaka mantras. So avyapaka mantras means they are not universal, non-universal mantras. Whereas vyapaka mantras are universal mantras. So what is meant by non-universal mantras? So you have several mantras like Sudarshana Mahamantra, Narasimha Mahamantra. Narasimha Mantra itself, there are hundreds of types of Narasimha Mantra. Sudarshana Mantra also hundreds of mantras are there. Then Varaha Mantra is there, Vamana Mantra is there, Hayagriva Mantra is there, Garuda Mantra is there. These are all famous mantras, but all these are avyapaka mantras.
How about Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya?
And that is Vishnu Dwadashakshari. That is Vyapaka mantra. It is called as the Vishnu Dwadashakshari. It's a very famous mantra. It's Vyapaka mantra. It is universal mantra. Anybody can chant them. As far as avyapaka mantras are concerned, this information is not given in this work, but it is mentioned by my Acharya, and people may be knowing about it. They are divided into four depending upon the nature of the person. So it is called as Siddha, Susiddha, Sadhya, and Hari. So there is a table which has to be put. It is called as Siddhari Koshta. Koshtaka means table. So Siddhari Koshtaka is, suppose I want to chant the Sudarshana mantra. Am I eligible to do it? So it is based on my birth star, my Rashi, and several other aspects. And then when I see in the table, there is a lookup table actually. It's a lookup table which is evolved thousands of years back, which will say these mantras are Siddha. That means they are easily accomplishable. Then Susiddha is very easily accomplishable. Or Sadhya, accomplishable with great effort. And Hari means enemy. So if a person is instructed with a mantra that is enemy to his nature, if he chants that mantra, all bad things will happen to him. He may even lose his life if he does it in the way it has to be done. So Sudarshana mantra might be suitable for some people, it may not be suitable. Narasimha mantra might be suitable for some people, it may not be suitable for some people. Because they are very, very powerful mantras. But once again, they have to be given as Upadesha by a person who is a Siddha, who has accomplished, who has attained Siddhi in that mantra. And this person also has to put in necessary efforts. And in India, we also listen to several inferior mantras that deal with inferior devatas. Like Pretan Bhutaganamscha Nyejante Tamasajanaha. As Lord Krishna says, Yajante Satvika Devana. Yaksharakshamsi Rajasa. Pretan Bhutaganamscha Nyejante Tamasajanaha. Tamasic people worship Pretas, are the departed souls. Departed souls means not our even worship, we worship, everybody worships their departed souls, namely their forefathers. That's a different thing. But that's a big issue, I am not going to that. So they worship Pretane, Bhutaganamshani are very, very, very inferior devatas or tamasic devatas, which will give them instant gratification, like it gives them great money and fame and all those things. but ultimately it will ruin their being or the Atman itself. But we understand, I have heard from some elderly people that there are several mantras that can be, that with regard to Siddhi can be attained even by chanting it once. So I was told by a person there is a Karnapishachi mantra. Karnapishachi means a particular deity that comes and tells all the past events of a person who is present who is in front of us. Such mantras can be accomplished, or Siddhi can be attained in such mantras by chanting it even once. So by that he may attain lot of fame and name, etc. But ultimately in the long run it will ruin him. We have heard about several stories, and I have seen a few people who have such accomplishments, but otherwise their mind is totally imbalanced and they have a lot of problems. So Siddhi, except for Bhagavad Siddhi or Bhagavad Sakshatkara, is totally prohibited, though it is mentioned in detail in the Shastras. So Tamasic mantras are there, Rajasic mantras are there. Then among the mantras of the Lord Vishnu itself, there are several mantras. These are all Avyapaka mantras. So among the Vyapaka mantras are always better than Avyapaka mantras, that is Ashtakara Mahamantra, Dvarashakara Mahamantra, Dvayachara Shloka, etc. So these can be practiced universally by each and every person. But the problem is, you cannot attain Siddhi so easily in these mantras, but it will never give you any harm, and it will never be a waste. You may not attain Siddhi even if a person chants the Ashtakara Mahamantra 1 million times. He may not attain Siddhi in this life, but it will never go waste, and it will never do any detrimental thing to him. That is why Avyapakangalil Vyapakangal Moondrum Shresthangal. More than the Avyapaka mantras, all the Vyapaka mantras are beneficial to us because they will never cause any harm to us. But it is not mentioned in this context. I am mentioning it what I have heard. But these mantras will take a long time to attain Siddhi. But once you attain Siddhi, what else is there to be done? But if a person chants 1 million times and says, nothing good has occurred to me, it's not so. Definitely it will have some good effect, which we may not understand in this janma, in this birth, but it will be carried over to the next birth. So chanting a Vyapaka mantra with faith will never become a waste. So that is why Lord Krishna says, Nahi kalyanakat kaschite durgatim tata gacchiti. If you have done something really wonderful without expecting in the return, for my sake, that is for the Lord's sake, it will never be a waste. So this is the literal meaning of these mantras. Now let's see the commentary. So Bhagavan mantrangal tar anekangal. So I will explain this shloka in the next class. Bahavo nripakalyana gunah putrasya santite tavananta gunasyapi shadeva prathame gunaha bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna எண்ணில் தொன்புகழ் காரணி நின்னரே என்றும் என்னையோ நியமாய் பிறந்தாய் என்றும் இத்தியாதிகளில் சொல்லுகிறபடியே பகவன் குணங்களும் குணபரிவாரூபங்களுமான அவதாரங்களும் அசங்கியாதமாய் இருக்குமா போலே அவத்தை அனுபந்தித்திருக்கும் மந்திர விசேஷங்களும் அனந்தாவை பகவன் மந்திராக என்கிறபடியே அநேகங்களாயிருக்கும் என்கை. He gives a very beautiful analogy wherein he says, so since you are all well versed in Bhagavad Gita, I will not go into the detail. So in the 4th chapter, it's a very interesting thing. The beginning of the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan ahamavim vivaswan manave praha madhurikshva. I taught this mantra to, this yoga to Surya or the sun god. He taught it to Manu, and then Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. But later it got diluted or it got almost lost. Now I have given that yoga to you. Then Arjuna is surprised because according to the story of Mahabharata and Bhagavatam, Krishna and Arjuna are cousins. So in Sanskrit, in English, you don't have any words to describe these unique relationships. That is, father, sister, son, and so Arjuna's father is Vasudeva, his sister is Kunti, and his son is Krishna. And Krishna's maternal uncle's son is Arjuna. This the relationship between these type of cousins. So in Sanskrit, even in English, you call all of these as cousins only. You say maternal cousin, paternal cousin, something like that. But in English, in Indian languages, you have specific words to denote each of these relationships. Because even father's brother is called uncle. Mother's brother is also called uncle. But in Indian parlance, it is not so. So it is very beautifully mentioned in the Mahabharata that when Krishna, when he used to visit the Panchapandavas, he used to prostrate before Dharmaraja or Yudhishthira and Bhima because they both were elder to him. And Nakula and Sahadeva used to prostrate to Krishna because Krishna was elder to both of them. Whereas Arjuna and he were equal in age, so Arjuna would come and embrace Krishna. Of course, here he prostrates before him and he realizes that he is God incarnate. But as far as the etiquette is concerned, Krishna used to prostrate to Arjuna, Bhima and Yudhishthira or Dharmaraja because they were elder to him, then embrace Arjuna, and then Nakula and Sahadeva would come and prostrate to Krishna. So this is how it was. So then Arjuna asked, what is this? How can you say you taught this mantra to the sun god? Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha kathametad vijaniyam kimadau proktamaniti. What is confusing me? The sun god was born several million years ago. And you were born 3 months earlier to me. I know you from your childhood. In this the village language, we say, he is my chaddi dost. I was seeing you when you were wearing shorts. That means I have seen you from very young age. So why are you confusing me by saying I told it to Sangha? Then Krishna explains in detail, Bahavo Mahoni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna. Both of us have encountered or we have taken millions of births. But the difference between you and me is I remember all my births, whereas you remember not even one of your births. So just as the Krishna Avatara is the most exalted birth. So we don't call it birth, that's why we call it as an appearance or avatar. Among all the millions of births that the Lord himself, the incarnations he has taken, similarly, this Ashtakshara Mahamantra is the best among all the millions of mantras. Why I am mentioning million is, several of the mantras might have become extinct now. And in future also they may come into existence. Some rishis may come and see it. So he says like that and then continues. Avayellam tane Avayallantan ekavargamo vinna. Are they all belonging to the same category? No. Avaidan vyapakangalinnum avyapakangalinnum irandu vargamengirar. அதாவது சர்வ வியாபகமான பகவத் ஸ்வரூபத்தை பிரதிபாதிக்கையாலே வியாபகங்கள் என்னும் பகவத் அவதார குணச்சேஷ்டிதங்களில் ஓர் ஒன்னை பிரதிபாதிக்கையாலே அவ்வியாபகங்கள் என்னும் உபயவர்க்கமாயிருக்கை. One explanation that I gave was given by my Acharya, which is not mentioned in this context. Here, Swami Manavada Mamuni says, why they are called as, these are called as Vyapaka and the others are called Avyapakas. They are called Avyapakas because they refer to some unique or particular aspect of the Supreme Lord, whereas the Vyapaka mantras refer to the original nature of the Supreme Lord himself. This is how they are known as Vyapaka and Avyapaka. So Manavada Mamuni does not go to venture the Siddha, Hari and all those things, because his focus is on Tirumantram and his explanation. But I mentioned this information because I thought it would be appropriate for people to know, because my Acharya used to mention this in the context of mantras. So with these words, I conclude today's presentation. I think we have some questions. So one question, Govindacharya Swami, can I read your question aloud? Do you have no problem?
No problem, Swami.
Yes.
No problem, Swami. I had some problems typing them up because I am joining from the phone, so sometimes
no problem.
there might be
Swami,
them
as
discontinuity.
we are not interested in siddhis of the Vyapaka mantras, are we? Isn't it that the goal of the mantra is eternal kainkarya of Bhagavan in Vaikuntha? Where can we find this information of which mantras are good for persons? So, of course, but sometimes, so it is mentioned that in the Tirumangai Alvar's Periya Tirumozhi, he says, Kulam tarum shalvam tandidum. So these Vyapaka mantras can give all fruits. So suppose a person chants the Ashtakshara Maha Mantra with the aim of earning money or prosperity, then it will give that also. Though it is not prescribed for that purpose. If it can give the highest possible goal, then why not it will not give the lower goals, provided it is constructive. So if you want a person to be killed and you do this, it may not give that type of effect. But if you want to earn material prosperity, definitely it will happen. But once again, it is like using a huge, great thing for a small, very ordinary purpose. So it is not encouraged. If somebody does it, fine. But using a huge, it's like having $10 million and smoking a small cigarette to attain pleasure. People will not do it. If a person realizes its value, he will not do it. Where can we find this information of which mantras are good for persons according to Janma Rashi? That is mentioned in the Mantra Ratnamavaraji and Mantrarnava, etc. Exactly where this table is available, in which form, I don't know, because my Acharya had shown that how it is there. So you may find out. If you are really interested, then I will also try to find out. With respect to Ekadashi, the best standard is no food whatsoever. However, we see that many Sri Vaishnavas don't fast on this day. Some just don't eat rice and even say that one can even take broken rice dishes and they eat everything else on this day. For those who do not fast from the home, what is it? See, this is one very important thing is, this Ekadashi Upavasa is the main purpose of Upavasa. Upasamipe Vasaha Upavasa. The main purpose of Ekadashi is to meditate upon the Lord by all means. So, suppose I am engrossed in a very, very attractive film, for example. Suppose your parents or your wife or a husband comes and offers, hey, already it is late, why are you not taking it? No, no, don't disturb me now. I am not interested in food today, I am interested, I want to see this film. Or if some football game is there, you can easily relate it to that. Or some very World Cup final football is going on, or some cricket World Cup final is going on. And the match is very evenly poised. No, I am not interested in food. Or even if some business comes, no, I will not take any business calls, no. Even if it is millions of dollars, let it be. So the spirit of Ekadashi is, it is known as Haridina. The external atmosphere also is very good for meditating upon the Lord. So Upavasa necessarily means being closer, and closest to the Lord. And in that process, food is given second preference or no preference. This is one thing. Second thing is, as far as the Yoga Shastra is concerned, if you overeat, you will not be able to concentrate. So it is very important that balanced food is taken, especially on Ekadashi. From the point of view of health also, you have to give rest to your digestive organs. So one day if you fast in a fortnight, it is excellent. Nowadays even Western doctors they never accepted the greatness or uniqueness of fasting. Now they are also saying, I hear from some journals that fasting is very good. So India has a very unique tradition of fasting, which all of you can practice. So it might be very difficult to fast for an entire day. So what they say is, they do it for half a day in the beginning. So they don't fast for the entire day and have food in the evening. Some people have food in the morning and fast in the evening, or have very little food. Some people don't have cooked food, they eat some fruits. Some people have only milk or something. Some people have only water. Some people do not do that also if they are capable of doing that. So that also should be done gradually. Since you have asked how much you have to accept or what, it depends upon your inspiration, how inspired you are, how your body can sustain that. So, and earlier my Guru used to tell in the instance of Shravana Dvadashi, suppose the Shravana stars falls on a Dvadashi day. It is known as Shravana Dvadashi. You have to fast for 2 days continuously. And he used to do it without water also. That is why he is hale and healthy at the age of 98. And people would actually, when he was young in his 20s and 30s, people would say, no, you have, without our knowledge, secretly you have consumed some fruits or something. No. He used to challenge them and show that without consuming even a drop of water, he could sustain himself for 2 days. So that is the ideal situation, but it is, from the point of view of Ayurveda, it is very good to fast for 1 day in a fortnight where you don't consume any food at all, or little food. If you find, if you are craving for food and you force yourself to not to consume, that's not acceptable. So you consume in lesser and lesser quantity, and then you come to no food at all. You may consume some liquid like milk or something. Then that also is possible. You consume water. Then you stop Nirjala Upavasa, we call it. That is to be done. But the thing is, on Dwadashi, early morning, as soon as the sunrise happens, you are supposed to do Parana. On that day, you are not supposed to use chilies and other things because that will damage your digestive system. So that day, you are supposed to use only pepper and other things. So the food tradition is a beautiful tradition which is like an ocean in itself. So that is how it is. And like you said, rice for South Indian wheat. As I was just thinking, for English people, potatoes are like Of course, potato is it's full of vayu, so the more you avoid it, it is better for your health. And if you have the table Keshavadas Swami, you please send me. I am interested because I don't have it right away with me. Please share it on my email. So, any other quick questions?
So, Swami, you were talking about taking Upadesha of a mantra, Acharya Upadesham of a mantra. So, does Upadesham of a mantra have to include also the mantrartha, the meaning of the mantra also, or not? Can the meaning come through the Chaitya Guru, or should it come through performing Purischarana, or does it have to come from being learned from an external Acharya?
It need not necessarily come from an external Acharya. In the case of Ramananda Acharya, we hear that to receive the mantrartha, he went to the Goshti Purna or Trikoti Nambi. It is not necessary that you have to have two acharyas, but as far as mantras are concerned, though the meaning is of utmost value, it is the sound value that matters most than anything. So for that matter, even if you don't know the meaning, exact meaning or the inherent meanings, even chanting the mantra itself will suffice to attain the results. But if you know the mantra, it will give you more respect towards the mantra and also towards the things that can be accomplished. So it's all the more meaningful. But in the beginning, probably when for example, the Gayatri mantra, it is started at the age of, before the boy attains 8, how will he be able to grasp the meaning? So it's the sound value that is most important. So if he knows the meaning, it's an added advantage, but even without knowing the meaning, it is the best to chant it. So chanting is of most importance rather than knowing the meaning. Knowing the meaning is an advantage, added advantage, which will give the siddhi earlier than otherwise.
Yeah, so I think even the study of Mumuksupadi, especially this Tirumantra Prakaranam, I mean, it obviously we are studying the meaning of the Tirumantra here. So it is recommended. It is recommended to study the meaning also.
It is recommended to study, but not in mandatory. But what happens is, along with the meaning of the mantra, so many other nuances are explained here, like the personal conduct of a Shiva Vaishnava, etc. On the premise of, in the context or having this as the premise, so many things are explained. That is why Rahasyatraya Kalakshepa has to be done. So you cannot explain some philosophy without any base. So this is the base on which the Shiva Vaishnava philosophy is explained. The Sampradaya philosophy, not the Shastra philosophy.
So my other question has to do with something we talked about a long time ago. You were explaining about how Bhagavad Visham is a very important Shastra. It's a commentary on the Nalaya Divya Prabandham, the 4,000 prayers of the Alvars in Tamil. Specifically, can you say something for those persons who are not Tamil speakers, who don't understand Tamil perhaps? They're not. Can you explain the importance of Bhagavad Visham? Because in order to enthuse people to want to study Bhagavad Visham.
So I will give a very mundane example. Now, if somebody loves tennis, they will listen to the interview of Roger Federer or earlier John McEnroe or Bjorn Borg or somebody. Why do they listen to the interview of those people? Because they love tennis and they want to know the experiences of people who have played tennis at the highest level. So if Nammadwar is our model, we have to know what are the experiences he has undergone. Only then we will be inspired to take up the Bhakti Marga. So if Roger Federer says, I earned $100 million by playing tennis, then people are inspired. I also want to do. Of course, out of 100, 10 people may become champions or they may earn at least $10 million. So you always want to listen to the experience of an accomplished person in that field. Similarly, who is the highest accomplished person in that field? It is Swami Nammatwar. And he has poured out all his experiences in a very, very, very unique manner. And to understand those experiences, we need interpretations. And those interpretations are the commentaries on the Divya Prabandhams, especially Nammatwar's Divya. So unless you listen to the commentaries, how will you understand what is the experience of a divine person who has had the vision of the Supreme Lord and who is eligible, who attained moksha? So you have to listen to their experiences, which is interpreted properly. So now I can understand, or you can understand what Roger Federer speaks. But how do you understand the import of the poems of Nammalvar unless it is explained by somebody, even though they may not know the language? So to get inspiration to proceed further in the Vaishnava path, you need to understand the experiences of the Alvars, Acharyas, Alvars like Nammalvar, who is the premier most Alvar. That is why his Tiruvayamozhi has the maximum number of commentaries. Other Divya Prabandhas, the other 3,000 and odd have only 1 or 2 commentaries maximum. Whereas Nammalvar has 5 commentaries. And still new commentaries are coming even today, like the Bhagavad Gita. So if you have to know the model Sri Vaishnava, that is why we call him as Prapanna Jana Kutastha. He is the model, or he is the first among all the Prapannas. So unless you know his experiences, you will not be able to really relish what you are going to get, or you will not be able to even imagine what are the fruits that you are going to get. Therefore, it is very, very important to learn through the commentaries of our Acharyas what the experience of the greatest among the Prapannas was. This can be explained in great detail, but this is in a nutshell the answer to your question.
Right. So, but what I've seen practically, I've seen in India, for instance, in North India, the tendency is to read Ramcharitmanas because it is in Hindi. In Tamil Nadu, they read Kamba Ramayana because it is in Tamil.
Definitely.
So definitely people have an affinity for learning. This is why I wanted to organize some lectures in English for people who are not speakers of Indian languages.
That's a very commendable thing. It will give them new dimensions about the field of devotion or bhakti and the experiences of the Supreme Lord.
Right. So I appreciate the exalted status of Nammalvar, but
Yes.
I'm trying to encourage people to get interested.
Unless you taste sugar, you will not know what it is, sweetness. Even if it is explained to by 100 people in taking hundreds of hours. So they should just go and experience by putting the sugar in their mouth. Similarly, unless they experience the uniqueness and beauty of the experience of Nammalvar, they will not be able to do that. So directly they should enter into the experience. That's all I would like to say in this context. So thank you very much. I end with the Mangala Shloka. Achedramānujetyesha chatura chaturakshari kāmavasthāṃ prapadyante jantavo hantamadrisha punyam bhoja vikāsāya pāpadvāntakṣayāya ca śrīmānāvirabhūt bhūmau Rāmānuja divākarah vinīkrita virinchādi nirankusha vibhūtayah Rāmānuja padāṃ bhoja samāśrena shālinah.